is really the first, real project that we have in the social issue unit. So I'll close that and go back to our prompts here. Okay, so the profile, this is a bit tricky. I understand there's a lot of colors going on here, and I promise there's a method to my madness. So every time you see social issue, you notice that that's in blue. Okay, this is on purpose. When you see the Innocence Project or the organization or Miriam Sidibe, right, those are all in orange, okay, and I'll explain. For this paper, you are going to choose a person, group, or place or event that is central to the social issue you wrote about in your proposal. You will discuss how this group, person, etc. is central to your social issue by explaining the person's relevant experience, the organization's mission or goals, the place significance to the social issue, or the event's relevance to the social issue. This is not a formal argumentative essay. This is the most important part of this prompt. This is not a formal argumentative essay. Instead, you are taking a snapshot of your profile topic and explaining how that topic is pertinent to your social issue. The explicit argument on your stance on your issue will come later as a separate project. Okay, so I want you to, keep in mind why I've chosen blue here. You are not talking about the social issue here. You are talking about the subject of your profile, okay? So let's keep going. This should start to make some sense. For example, the person who chose the death penalty as her social issue chose the Innocence Project as her profile subject. The Innocence Project is an organization that works to overturn wrongful convictions of inmates. Notice that she discusses how the organization was founded, what the organization does, and specific cases that the organization helped to overturn. She does not yet argue against the death penalty. She is only discussing the Innocence Project's contribution to the cause. So she's focusing on the orange. The Innocence Project, the Innocence Project. That's all she's talking about, and we'll look at the sample in just a second. She is not arguing against the death penalty yet. For hand washing, she chose Miriam Sidibe, a woman who advocates for children to wash their hands to avoid spreading and acquiring oftentimes deadly diseases. Again, this student is not yet arguing that we need to wash our hands. Instead, she is discussing only Miriam Sidibe and her contributions to the hand-washing cause. And then you need to include a visual. So let's move to the samples. Okay, here's the death penalty. See the title here, Innocence Project. This is a visual that she chose to use. So everything in this paper is going to talk about the Innocence Project. Thanks to the Innocence Project, they have assisted in the exoneration of 351 people, 20 of whom are on death row, right? As a result, guilty criminals are being left on the street. This is a different point that she makes. The Innocence Project's main objective is to free the vast amounts of innocent people. And here she's talking about how the organization was founded, right? She is not arguing, she's not ever saying in here, I am against the death penalty, right? But the organization she chose obviously points to her stance, but she is not arguing yet. Keep going here. Again, everything, you notice how many times the organization is listed there. And so the whole thing is really just about the Innocence Project, again here, right? So you can go ahead and read through this to, really get a thorough sense of what I'm talking about. And then let's look at hand washing. So again, she is not arguing we need to wash our hands, right? This is a picture of her profile subject, Miriam Sidibe. So she first talks about a story of Sidibe going on TED Talks and making her speech. And then she talks about how she got her PhD in hand washing, and then all of her causes. This is Sidibe's cause here, Help a Child Reach 5. Again, another subtopic here, Global Hand Washing Day. This was Miriam Sidibe co-founded that day, right? So both of these students are not arguing for their social issue. They've chosen something central to their social issue, and that's exclusively what they're talking about. So that is your profile. Let's go back to our prompts. So you can see the due dates at the top. This one is 3 to 4 pages with the works cited, okay? So you're choosing a person, group, place, or event central to your social issue. So if you were choosing, something to do with the environment, maybe you'd choose Leonardo DiCaprio. Maybe if you were writing about the football players taking a knee, maybe you would choose Colin Kaepernick. Okay, so there's lots of different ways that you can go with this. And then your profiles reading should really help you here with this one. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our fact sheet. And this is exactly like it sounds. It's a fact sheet, just the facts. So this is basically everything an English teacher has ever taught you not to do, right? Your English teachers say include evidence and then expand your analysis on your take on the evidence. This you are literally just putting the evidence and not explaining it at all. So you'll use these facts later when you write your commentary, which will be our last project, but this is just the facts. So this one's going to be 1 to 2 pages, and we're going to be using Chicago format. So make sure when you get to this week that you look in that folder for the Chicago formatting video on footnotes. It's really simple, but I show you how to do footnotes on Word and also on Google Doc. So this one's 1 to 2 pages. You need at least 6 professional sources, and this is a report directly on the social issue now. So no longer are you talking about Leonardo DiCaprio, okay? You're going to be talking about the environment if that's your social issue. Okay, no longer are you talking about Miriam Sidibe or the Innocence Project. You are now talking about hand washing and the death penalty. So let's look at a couple samples. Here's the death penalty one. Okay, and notice how cool this is. You can choose whatever format you want. Notice she's got 3 columns here, and then she has like a little blurb here. Whatever graphics you use, this is really important for the fact sheet. Whatever images you use, they need to be factual. They need to be graphs or a map or a flow chart or an infographic, something like that. They should no longer be profile pics, okay? So in the profile, you chose maybe a picture of your person or a logo of the organization. But for the fact sheet, you want it to be numerical in nature or factual in nature, not just a picture of something. Okay, so notice she's got a graph here. And so she just has her facts, right? She's got 9 facts, and then she's got her footnotes at the bottom, and then a bibliography. All right, so this is basically the fact sheet. Pretty straightforward. You don't have to include all of this header information at all. You can use whatever format you want. And so let's look at the hand washing. This one's different, a different format. So notice she's playing with the font. She has things bolded and italicized. That's beautiful. Feel free to be as creative as you want with all of that stuff. So she has a graphic here. Notice it's a graph, a bar graph. Her footnotes at the bottom. And now she has, these now are good. This is showing where we generally miss washing our hands, which is pretty gross. So yeah, those are two very different ways to approach the fact sheet, both equally valid. And that's basically the fact sheet, right? You're going to be doing some research on the Mesa Library website to find your scholarly sources based on your social issue. And like I said, you can choose any format. You can choose a T-chart, a flow chart. You can do simple Word or Google Doc with subheadings. You can do a timeline of facts, whatever you think is most appropriate for your reader, right? So you've chosen a social issue. Really think about the layout, because you don't have any space to do any analysis in the fact sheet. The facts really have to speak for themselves here. So how is someone going to look at your fact sheet and know what your social issue is and also be convinced by it? So that's your task. The layout is going to play a huge part in conveying your meaning for this project. All right, and then after the fact sheet, we are going to do our commentaries. Okay, so our first commentary, so you're going to have 2 commentaries. The first one is going to be a very straightforward, argumentative 6 to 8 page paper. And I know this sounds like a lot, but you can reuse any of the material from your proposal, your profile, and your fact sheet. You can reuse any of that you'd like to in the commentary. Those first 3 projects are really meant to help you create a foundation for your commentary essay. So this is your full-fledged argument. I've been, holding you back. I've been telling you don't argue yet, don't argue it yet. Now this is your chance. This is your full-fledged argument. You're going to have at least 5 sources, as it says here, 6 to 8 pages, super straightforward. Now you're putting everything together that you've been working on. And I say here, you can reuse your material. Most students find it helpful to return to the proposal from the beginning of the semester and expand upon what they've written, adding facts from the fact sheet and using their profile topic as an example. However, depending on your social issue, you will determine what, if any, material from your previous projects will be most useful to you. And then there's samples on Blackboard to help you, and we don't have any points, so take that off. So straightforward, argumentative paper, all right? And of course there's samples on Blackboard. And I will show you those first before we get into the second commentary. Okay, here is the death penalty. I'm just going to show you this one. Now you can see here, while there are several concerns surrounding the death penalty, including the morality of its use, the costs associated with it more importantly, there is an alarming rate of wrongful convictions that have resulted in the death of innocent people. This is a very straightforward argument. We can tell exactly where she stands. And then she goes in to talk about where the death penalty came from. She brings in a bunch of statistics about my cat's back there, sorry. Bringing in a bunch of statistics about convictions, 4.1% are erroneous, right? This is evidence that suggests that she is against the death penalty, right? Capital punishment. And so you can see how much evidence she has throughout her paper here, of course with proper citation. And let's see, so hers was only 5 pages, so that is one downfall to the sample. I do want you guys to go to 6 pages at the least, all right? And then I'll let you take a look at the hand washing one. So those are your 2 samples for the essay commentary. Now let's look at the second commentary. This one is creative. You can choose from different genres, really anything you want, anything you want. Here's the only 3 criteria. You need to clearly explore your social issue. Your social issue and stance needs to be clearly identified, and it needs to be creative. Have some fun. And so what I'd like to do at this point is show you the page where you'll be posting your creative commentary, and also where all of your samples are going to be. So I've created a Padlet for our course for our creative commentaries. So you can go on here, and obviously more than hand washing and death penalty, right? But there's so many samples. This is actually the death penalty one right here from our sample set. Right, so you notice she drew a picture of the Statue of Liberty, and she's being weighed down on one side because of capital punishment. And then you can see all of these different samples here. Notice how different they are, right? A lot of people drew things, right? But not everyone. There's poems in here. Some people use Adobe Spark to create a page, a post. There's a few Adobe Spark ones. There's poems. Some people used different technology to create theirs, right? So there's so many different ways that you can go about the creative commentary. And I've labeled them with the social issue so you can kind of see how students approach this. So when you're ready, you're going to submit your creative commentary to Blackboard, but I also want you to submit it here. So when you're ready, you double click, and then notice this blank box popped up. Just give it a title, whatever your social issue is. And then you can write your name. And then you can either upload like a Word document or any kind of document, or you can attach a link. So whatever your creative commentary ends up being. And then that's it. Once it's there, it's there. All right. If you are unhappy with your post, you can just hit delete. Okay. So I want you to submit to the Padlet and also to Blackboard. All right. And then the last thing that we're going to do is share out what we've worked on. All right. So the last thing is going to be your presentation. Now, this isn't a formal presentation typically where you stand up in front of a class, obviously, because this is an online class. But you are still going to create a presentation of sorts. So you will organize the main points from your social issue projects into a Google Slides, PowerPoint, Adobe Spark page, Microsoft Sway page, Prezi, or any other medium of your choosing that I haven't listed there. This is a way for everyone to see what you've been working on. All students must submit their presentation to earn a passing grade in the course, and you must adhere to the prompt guidelines to earn a passing grade. So for the slides, you must include 10 slides at least covering the following information. So background info on your social issue, different viewpoints on the social issue, your stance or opinion. This is a good place to introduce your essay commentary, but you want to teach the class instead of, just have your essay copied and pasted there. Important facts you deem essential, and this is, you can use your fact sheet for that. And a description of your creative project, how you came up with it, why you think it's a good representation of your stance, and what the project actually is. So you actually need to include your creative commentary in your slideshow somehow. And then it's optional, but you can definitely record your voice narrating the presentation or narrate yourself just like this if you'd like to. If anyone's interested, I can set you up with my Zoom account so you can record your presentation. That would be awesome, although not required. And you're going to post your presentation to a different Padlet, which I'll show you right now. If you want to do an Adobe Spark page or a Microsoft page, you still need to include all of this information, but you're going to be creating basically a web page that people scroll through. So you're going to just have a different layout, which is perfectly fine. So you're welcome to do either of those options, a slideshow or a page. And let me take you now to our presentation Padlet, which is right here. This one has the bubbles behind it. So when you're ready, this one's blank. So when you're ready, again, just double click on the bubbles and you're going to post it the same exact way that you did your creative commentary. And then you are going to read through or watch a bunch of your peers' presentations and then comment on 2 of them. And that is basically our entire social issue unit. Now keep in mind, like I said, this unit goes for a few months, right? It goes about 2.5 to 3 months. So I know I mentioned a lot in this video, but I promise you that the class is paced very well. I taught the same course during intersession in 4 weeks, so you have much more time to do it than they did. I guarantee that you will be able to finish it. I'm here if you need anything at all, if you need any clarification. The samples are there for you in your folders. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys this semester, and keep referring back to this video anytime you need some clarification, but I'm always here for help. All right.